Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. I am Jason. This is Sports Spectrum. Make sure you check out our website, sportspectrum.com, for all of our content. And we'd love to hear from you. Any guest ideas, any feedback from this show with Pablo Viruega, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me, jason@sportspectrum.com. That's my email, jason@sportspectrum.com. And as I mentioned, Pablo Viruega is our guest today on Sports Spectrum. This was a fun conversation with Pablo. He works with ESPN, with ESPN International, ESPN Latin America, and ESPN Deportes as a sports analyst for football and for the NBA. He can be seen on the weekly NFL show, NFL Esta Noche, and appears as a regular commentator on Noche de Combates. My Spanish is terrible, so forgive me if I'm not pronouncing these properly. But Pablo just came back about a month ago from calling Super Bowl 55 for ESPN Deportes. He also serves for football and basketball analyst work, has covered the Olympic Games, Pan American Games, Central American Games, several World Cups, and as we mentioned, the Super Bowl and the NBA Finals. He is a Mexico City native. He is from Mexico and moved to Connecticut, right down the road really from where I live, just a couple miles away, to work at ESPN back in 2008. He has 3 kids, he's married, and we have a ton of fun talking on sports, talking on faith. He loves Jesus and family and just acclimating yourselves to the United States when you've been in Mexico and speaking Spanish your whole life. And Pablo doesn't do a lot of these interviews in English because he broadcasts and talks pretty consistently, even at home, as he says, in Spanish. So this was a fun interview with Pablo. Super, super nice guy. He's got a lot of great stories, and he joins us here in just a second. First, I want to say thank you to our sponsors and partners today, our friends at Compassion International. Fill the Stadium. That is the professional athlete-led initiative with Compassion that's happening right now. Because of COVID-19 and the pandemic, it's completely disrupted the world and disrupted what Compassion has been able to do for so many years. 70,000 kids in Compassion programs who are currently unfunded. So Fill the Stadium is standing in the gap by providing food and medical care and support for 70,000 children, a stadium's worth of children in crisis. This is a stadium that cannot remain empty. And you can learn more and donate and partner with Compassion right now by going to the website, fillthestadium.com, to learn more. Fillthestadium.com. We're also presented today by our friends at Water Mission, a nonprofit Christian engineering ministry that fights the global water crisis with safe water, sanitation, and hygiene solutions in developing countries and disaster areas. That's a lot to say, but think about what I just said. Safe water, global water crisis, hygiene solutions, developing countries, disaster areas. This is serious work that Water Mission does. It's important work, fighting the global water crisis. 4.4 billion people lacking access to adequate sanitation, 2.1 billion people lacking access to safe water. It sounds like it's a hopeless situation, but it's not, because Water Mission is doing great work. You can partner with them to help these people to fight the global water crisis and bring safe water and sanitation, urgently needed safe water and sanitation and hygiene solutions to these vulnerable communities. Check out watermission.org right now to learn more and pray with them. Watermission.org. All right, let's get to our conversation with Pablo Viruega, ESPN International, ESPN Deportes analyst. He's got great stories, and he joins us here right now on Sports Spectrum. He is Pablo Viruega. I'm trying to get the last name right, Pablo. How'd I do?
Good. Perfect. Very close. Good.
Well, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you here, Pablo.
Oh, thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. And you said it. We work each other in the same company. Yes. But I believe that you were in building 3, and and that time I was in building. No, you were in building 4, and I was in building 3.
Yes.
So The only place that we can meet each other was in the cafeteria, but with a bunch of people, it's impossible.
That's right.
Yeah, but thanks for having me.
Well, it's so good to have you. I know most of the broadcasting and talking that you do is in Spanish, but we get to do an English interview, and I'm really excited to have our audience learn about you, not just your broadcasting career, but certainly the importance of your faith in Jesus. So let's start with, you just finished covering the Super Bowl. We're airing this in March, but it is mid-February that we're recording this interview. I guess I'd start with, what was the experience like covering? This was your 25th Super Bowl, if I was doing my social media, research properly. I mean, that's pretty cool. And Super Bowl 55, and you get to call it for ESPN Deportes.
Yeah, this was my 25th or 26th. I started in the Super Bowl 29. I missed 2 Super Bowls. I think the first one in 38 in San Diego. Yeah. Actually, Tampa Bay against the Raiders. I missed that. And the other Super Bowl that I missed was that one in Dallas, Packers against Pittsburgh. Yes. And that's why, because my youngest daughter was born during the Super Bowl week. So imagine that was impossible to travel, no? So right. Yeah, this was my 25th, 26th, and was my second to calling for ESPN Deportes or ESPN International. In the past, I was doing a lot of stuff for ESPN, especially the preview, NFL Esta Noche, like NFL Tonight. Yep. Yeah. And I did the preview with other guys. But yeah, I start very young. I was 20. I was 21 when I started cover the Super Bowls. So yeah, it was a blessing, and it was very weird this past Super Bowl, because it's the amount of people that travel for ESPN domestic. Better than me. A lot of people go for ESPN domestic than the ESPN international, especially ESPN in Spanish. But in the past, we traveled like 30, 40 person for ESPN in Spanish, because we have to cover all the sports centers. We have an NFL Live in Mexico, NFL show, NFL Live show. And but this year, we only traveled with 5, 10 people or more. Wow. And the guy who's supposed to be the play-by-play, Lalo Varela, tested positive the night before he traveled. So Ciro Procuna was the play-by-play, but Ciro was in Mexico, and he cannot make it for, he has to be in quarantine. So he has to call the game in Mexico. I was doing the color analyst in the booth in the stadium, and we have John Sutcliffe on the field, or on the stands in this case. Yeah. So imagine I have a big booth only for me, and okay, I don't complain, but was very weird. But was very weird compared with the past years.
Yeah, it's a different year for all of us. It doesn't matter what you do, and specifically in broadcasting. I talked to a lot of people, not just at ESPN, but some other places, who were calling games strictly from their house. And it was all day, every day for 2 months, especially during college football, where they would just call games from their house. I'm sure you've had that experience too. Yeah,
actually, I did the ESPYs, the translation. I didn't from him. I here in my home. This is the basement of my home. I did a couple of WNB games from here. What else? Oh, actually, the Sunday night in Latin America, we have the Sunday night football. We have the rights in Latin America, and obviously the Monday night. So I was the color analyst for both, for Sunday and Monday. But the Sunday is a game that produced in Mexico. So the play-by-play, who was the Ciro, he was doing the play-by-play in Mexico, and I was doing the color analyst here in Connecticut. And for Monday night, all the production is in Bristol. So we went to the campus with separate booths and everything. But I have to call every week from here, from my home.
I wanted to ask you, How often do you do interviews in English? I'm guessing this is a rarity that you and I get to do an interview like this, but maybe I'm wrong because most of your broadcasting, all of your broadcasting is done in Spanish.
All of my broadcastings are in Spanish. Actually, my bosses tell me or ask me once, hey, are you good to do not a call a game in English, no, to do an interview in English? Is it? I can try, but I not feel 100% comfortable. But I can try. I can do an interview in English, because sometimes during the NFL or before the NFL season, when they take this college or this NFL draft prospects to the campus and they did the car wash,
Sure.
they apart a time for the ESPN International. So I interview Paxton Lynch, Jalen Ramsey, Derrick Henry, the coach Davos Sweeting. It's a great person, great person.
Yeah.
So I do the interviews in English. So I can ask in English, but for me it's more difficult to answer or follow an interview in English. Because my primary language is Spanish.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing this interview. Let's just say that because I know it's not easy for you. Now, you grew up in Mexico City, right? So you came to Connecticut. Yes. We were talking about in 2008. Did you have any English speaking background before you came to Connecticut, before you came to America?
Yeah. I took lessons in Mexico, but it's not the same. It's not the same because in Mexico everybody all the English lessons now they are different. I'm 73. I was born in 1973. So imagine when I took English lessons in Mexico during the 80s.
Yeah.
So the typical conversation is, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. So all that conversation that sometimes is something that you don't use in the day by day basis. One
right.
of the things that I come here to Connecticut with my wife, and my wife she speaks English maybe better than me, but I catch all the English because when I start doing this, all the information is in English.
Right.
I said all this, all the media stuff, all the NFL, everything that I read is in English, and I hear the games in Mexico in English. So I think I better to listen to reading than speaking. But one of the things that happened to us when we moved from Mexico to Connecticut is, I remember we were in a restaurant and we finished our dinner and the waitress came and say, "Are you done?" And we say, "Yeah." "Are you done?" I don't know. I say that, "Are you done?" We start looking at each other, my wife, and just say, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And so the waitress catches and says, "Are you finished? Are you finished with your meal?" "Oh, yeah. But that phrase, that "are you done?"
Yeah.
Or the I'm all set. I'm all set. You use "I'm all set" for a lot of things.
Sure.
And in Mexico, never told you that "I all set" is, you can use it for a lot of things. So yeah, in that time was difficult. But yeah, I learned and I took classes in Mexico. I spent 6-7 months in Chicago to try to catch the English, but I knew that in Chicago a lot of people speak Spanish. So it was at the beginning. It was no easy to especially to speak the English.
Pablo Viruega is joining us here on Sports Spectrum. So we're the intersection of sports and faith, as you know, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to have you on here, because if you go to your Twitter page, you talk about Jesus right in your bio. So he's clearly important to you, and your faith is important to you and your wife. Tell us about your faith and kind of maybe where it started and how it's kind of taken you through your journey to where you are now.
Well, I was born in a Christian home. My dad and my mom they were very, very involved in the church that we attend in Mexico City. But actually, my dad was like a youth pastor. We attend a big church in Mexico. So every Sunday, my dad was the youth pastor for more than 300 high schoolers.
Yeah.
But and my mom was involved in a minister to visit illness people in the hospitals and their home. So I saw all the things that my parents did when I was a kid. I was involved in summer camps with my dad, with my brothers. We are four. I'm the youngest. We are four brothers, four men,
Yep.
no woman. But I believe that when I was a teenager, I started to be more conscious about the Jesus, about the faith. And I remember was in a summer camp that I said, "Hey, Jesus, I knew that you are my Savior. I knew that you are my Savior, but I have never confessed it. So I confessed it, and I baptized when I was, I think, like 23. Yeah, when I was 23. No, when I was 26. Sorry, when I was 26, and I met my wife in church. In the church, I met my wife there. So we are very close. That I follow all the steps when you were a teenager, when you are a college guy, then when you start to make a family. So yeah, that's and Jesus is a very important part of my life. It's not that it's not something that I did. It's not something that I do. Calling games, going to the Super Bowl is because I'm blessing. Because I'm blessing, and well, the Bible said all the Son of God are blessing, and first I have to give the glory of God, because He put me in one of the best positions that I can. It's something that I want to do, call the NFL, call Super Bowls, being in a big company like a ESPN. So God gave me special talents to do my job, but at the end is because it's a blessing. It's a blessing for Him, from Him. Sorry.
How important is that, and has it been for you to carry that faith? You said your parents and you grew up in a Christian home. For your three kids, and I know you have three. You have Anna, Luis, and Rebecca, we were talking about. So you have three kids, two girls and a boy. Tell me about carrying that faith into your own home and raising your kids in the way of faith and the importance of that for you.
Well, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because we are a bicultural family. We are my wife and I. We grew up in Mexico with all the traditions in Mexico, but we try to keep our faith in God with faith in Jesus. And Jason, here's another society. I'm not saying that it's better or worse. No, it's a different society from Mexico. Different culture, different traditions. So we try to adapt our tradition, our Mexico tradition. I'm not talking about religion tradition. No, I'm talking about the Mexican, actually the food, everything. But the faith that we try to put in our kids is the same faith. It doesn't matter if you speak English, if you speak Spanish, if you speak Chinese. It doesn't matter. It's one God. It's one God for all the nations. So it's funny because when we do our devotionals, when we do our family devotionals, it's like a Spanglish devotional, So we read the Bible in English for them, for my kids, but my wife and I we try to read the Bible in Spanish. Because that's the way that we learn a lot of versículos from the Bible, in Spanish. So we try to put that faith in our kids. That it's very important. It's very, very important. We try to remind them that, hey, you are growing in a beautiful country, in a beautiful place, in a beautiful house, but nothing is easy. The only thing that is easy is bend your knees, pray to God, and He will provide. He will provide. So, and we always try to remind them that all the glory and all the honor is for God.
Yeah.
It's not for a NFL star, NBA star, actress, video game, whatever. The only glory is for God. So and one of the things that we are trying to put in their mind is, hey, we, not you, we. And when my wife and I said we, dads are involved. We have to obey. We have to obey God. We have to obey His word, because it's easy for the parents sometimes say, "Hey, guys, you have to obey."
Right.
Yeah, but Dad, when you are gonna obey? Because it's easy for the dads, or for in my case, say, "Hey, you have to obey, kid." Yeah, and you. So I try to put it in the same page, in the same situation with my kids. Say, hey, we have to obey. I am as a dad, I have to obey the God's word. You know, so that's one of the things that try to put in their minds, in their hearts, that the most important is Jesus.
Sports Spectrum today is presented by Compassion International, the most trusted child development ministry in the world. And right now, children around the world are living in poverty and facing unimaginable circumstances as a result of COVID-19. And communities in poverty are facing shutdowns and restrictions, just like we are, but without any safety net. And as hardworking day laborers, most of the families Compassion serves work each day in order to buy food for that day and maybe the next. And where many of us have stocked up for days or weeks at a time, they have neither the income or even refrigeration to afford to stay at home. And as a result, parents are forced to make unthinkable choices between going to work and risking infection, or not going to work and facing hunger and starvation. And COVID-19 has multiplied their needs exponentially, and they need help. That's where Compassion comes in. That's where you can come in. With Fill the Stadium, a pro-athlete-led initiative raising critical resources for 70,000 children and their families impacted by COVID. Every empty seat represents one child who needs support for the critical next 12 months. This is a stadium that cannot remain empty, and we need your help. You can go to the website, fillthestadium.com. Fillthestadium.com. That's the website. Check it out. You can give, you can donate, and help release these children and their family from poverty. Fillthestadium.com. We're also presented today by Water Mission, and they're a nonprofit Christian engineering ministry fighting the global water crisis with safe water and sanitation and hygiene solutions. And right now they are working to stop the global spread of COVID-19. Urgently needed safe water and sanitation and hygiene solutions. They're providing them, Water Mission is, to refugee settlements and other vulnerable communities. Listen to some of these numbers. These were statistics right before the pandemic. 4.4 billion people lacking access to adequate sanitation. 2.1 billion people lacking access to safe water around the world. These are billion with a B people that don't have adequate sanitation and safe water. Water Mission is stepping in to fill that gap, and you can join them. You can pray with them, and you can donate right now with Water Mission by going to the website watermission.org. Watermission.org, fighting the global water crisis. Watermission.org. I have to imagine that it's hard too, because you grew up in Mexico, and yes, you're acclimating yourself or conforming to, American tradition, and America, like you said, is much different than Mexico. But your 3 kids, and even your oldest was here when she was 4, I think you said, or almost 4. So all they've known is America, right? So they probably would be like you would be when you were here if they went back, and I'm sure you have family there, when you go back to Mexico.
Yeah, yes. They know that they know that most of their family are in Mexico, but they are growing in America and they follow all the traditions. And I have a funny story about my kids because, actually I told this story in this community church in the church that we attend.
Yes.
Here in Connecticut. I said, hey, we are a bicultural family. Mm-hmm. My wife is from Mexico. I am from Mexico. And my oldest daughter is from Mexico. She's my Aztec princess because 100% Mexican, Mm-hmm. And Luis is the 50-50. Say what? Everybody say why? Say yeah, because he was made in Mexico, and when we moved from Mexico to the United States, my wife was pregnant, so he was made in Mexico but born here. And the little one, she's the consequence of the long winter here in Connecticut. Because our plan was to have 2, and then now we have 3. But that's our plan. God's plan is to make 3, and 3 is the perfect number. And it has their challenge to grow up 3 kids, and that's challenge to grow up in different cultures. I don't try to take away them from the American culture, no, because it's their home.
Sure,
Connecticut is their home, and it's gonna be maybe my home, My hometown. I was born in Mexico. I don't forget. Never the tacos. Sorry, I prefer tacos than hamburger first. Yeah, but my kid is incredible. But my kid, when we travel to Mexico and we're in a Mexican restaurant, obviously, he goes to the American cuisine and say, "Hey, can I get a cheeseburger, please?" The American say, "Hey, man, you're in Mexico. You ask for tacos." No, but I like cheeseburger. That's okay. Okay, that's fine. But it's funny. It's funny.
That's awesome. Do your kids speak Spanish?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the older one, Ana, she's 16. She's more fluency in Spanish. Luis, I believe, is like a 70-30. She understands everything. The 3 kids understand everything.
Yeah.
But the youngest one, she's more English speaker. English speaker. Yeah, obviously, it's logic. In the school they speak English.
Of course.
They watch the TV or they watch the iPads, the tablets in English. So everything is in English. The only thing that we talk with them in English is the homework, the Bible, and what else? And the book. When we're reading in English, we try to read in English with them. Yeah.
But you speak Spanish otherwise, and then they have to interpret that and understand that.
Yeah. They have to catch it. So sometimes sometimes they ask us, "Hey, what did you say?" So forget about it. It's not Spanish. It's Mexican. So yeah.
Pablo, I want to ask you, this is maybe a weird question, but I think I would love to hear your favorite Bible verse if you have one. And I'd love for you to share it in Spanish and then tell us what that was in English for our audience. Could I do that? Would that be an okay question to ask?
Sure. No, it's okay. Well, it's one of, it's Philippians 4:13. Okay. It's a very famous verse in the Bible.
Sure.
Let me find it in Spanish.
Okay.
Well, in Spanish I know it's todo lo puedo en Cristo que me fortalece.
Okay.
And in English, let me find it in English. Maybe you know it.
I do know it, but I'm going to let you do your
okay.
work. I can say it though if you'd like me to.
No. I have it right here.
Okay.
I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. You know? Well, I have this. It's one of the versions that I have on my phone, and sometimes we confuse these verbs because we think that we can get all the things that we want in the name of Jesus, and it's not that way. It's not that way. We have to support all the things that our lives or in our lives pass through. Mm-hmm. I remember a lot of people in Mexico ask me, "Hey, what did you do to get that job in ESPN?"
Right.
Well, no, it's not easy. Nothing is easy,
of course.
But I remember when we live in Mexico, I passed I don't know how many castings in ESPN in Mexico. I don't know how many, like 5 castings.
Wow.
And the last castings to do a sports center in Mexico, the last casting is ESPN Mexico took us, 4 anchors in Mexico, took us and traveled to Bristol. And we have to do 2 segments of Sports Center.
Okay.
We have to do intro for our news, a highlight, a blah blah blah, and to put us more pressure. The casting was in the Studio A. At that time, the Studio A was the Sports Center set.
Yeah, so sure, I know where it is.
Imagine that shock that, man, I'm in the Sports Center set,
Yeah.
So I did the casting. I think that was good. So, but I passed all the castings, and at the end, the last cut, I was out. And then the next year, I tried again, and I tried in another companies, At that time, I was working in a radio station in Mexico, in a sports radio station in Mexico, and I don't complain. I was one of the top play-by-plays in the football and the basketball and in all other sports. I attend to the Olympic Games, Pan American Games, Central American Games, but I was looking for something, a big challenge, a big step, So I tried to jump to the TV,
Yeah.
I was working in TV Azteca at the end of the century, 1999 to 2003, and this experience that I tell you was in 2007, something like that,
Okay.
So at that time, I was working only on radio. So I tried a lot of ways to make it in the TV, and I remember one of the castings. When I received a call and said, "You know what, Pablo, thank you, but not this time," So I was almost in frustration, crying, and my wife told me and said, "Hey, remember, you are a son of God, and God always is looking for better things for their son."
Yeah.
For their son, so God has better plans for you in the future. So, okay. Thank you, thank you. But I don't know, that happened, I don't know in which year, but 2 or 3 years later of that is when I received the offer to came to ESPN here in Bristol,
Wow.
So every time my wife remind me, "Hey, God has better plans for you," and that verse, Philippians 4:13, opened me the eyes that say, "Hey, I can pass all the bad things, not all the good things, all the bad things, and I can pass it." How do you say? I can pass it with God in my heart. Is easy that if I don't have it.
Yes. Yeah. Thinking about that Philippians verse too, I'm so glad that you said that it doesn't mean what I think a lot of people think it means, because in verse 12, it says, Paul is talking, he says, "I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. He says, I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether is with a full stomach or an empty stomach, with plenty or with little, for I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So that's a great way to describe that verse, Pablo, because it doesn't mean we can just get everything and do anything whenever we want, but it means no matter what we go through, whether you get the job at ESPN the first time, and you obviously didn't, or you do, no matter what happens, I can do it because I have God with me. And I think that is just such a great verse.
Yeah, and one of the things that people maybe don't know or maybe forget is that, because when you say this verse to someone else, they say, okay, who wrote that? Who wrote that? They say, oh, Apostle Paul. Yeah, but you're talking about Apostle Paul. Hey, he was a human like you and like me.
That's right.
And when he wrote this verse, Philippians, he was in jail.
That's right. He was in prison.
He was in prison. So he was not in his studio with no. He was in prison.
Yeah.
So it's one of the famous verses. But when I understand all the meaning around that verse, it's not that something you want, no, right. And maybe a lot of people confuse that part,
Well, I'm glad you explained that, Pablo. That was wonderfully said. I do want to pivot and ask you one quick question about sports. It's got to be interesting because you live in Connecticut, you live in America, and your broadcasts go out internationally. ESPN Deportes, ESPN International. So Americans here might not know who you are from the work that you do, like we would know some of the other people at ESPN or any other network. But I have to imagine there's certain areas of the world where you go and people recognize you and know you. So if I was to say, where could you go right now? And I'm not saying it's like the Beatles or something where people are hounding you, but where would people recognize you right now? Would it be in Mexico and some of those other areas, Latin communities? Where would that be?
Most of our audience is in Mexico. Especially for the sports that I call NFL. NFL has a huge fan base in Mexico, huge.
Right.
But it's funny because you said it. Sometimes you are on air on ESPN Deportes. ESPN Deportes is the Spanish channel just here in USA.
Right.
But sometimes you are broadcasting for ESPN Latin America. So, our way to know is the Twitter, is the social media. Sometimes we receive message from Venezuela, from for Dominican Republic, for Mexico, obviously. Yeah. But sometimes, especially, when we travel to, for example, a couple of years ago when the Super Bowl was in Houston,
right. Yes.
Okay, you jump in a Uber, and you're talking with your coworker, talking about football, say, and the driver could turn around and say, hey, and blah, 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 blah. Say, yes, you guys, you are from the ESPN guys. Yeah, I saw you on TV. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, yes. That's right. Yeah, but sometimes you cannot imagine the impact that you have in a lot of countries, because you are in Connecticut. You are in Connecticut, so you go to the Starbucks, you go to the supermarket, and nobody knows who you are.
That's so
true.
Actually,
I have a lot of American friends that. So you are gonna call the Super Bowl, yeah. So if I turn the TV on, I'm gonna see you and say, yeah, but you have to have the ESPN Deportes channel.
Yeah.
And how can I get ESPN Deportes channel? Well, you have to get the Latin package. Oh, that's why I cannot see you. So, yeah, that's why. Don't worry.
Or watch it on the ESPN app, right?
yeah. Actually, yeah. One of the friends that I have in church, he's American, and his dad used to work for ESPN.
Okay.
So say, hey, so I can watch it on TV. Yeah, but you have the channel. Do you have the channel? No, I don't have the channel. Well, okay, you have the app? Yeah. Okay, go to the app and go to ESPN Deportes and you are going to watch me there.
That's it.
And then text me Monday. Hey, I watched you. Finally, I watched on TV.
I may not have understood half of it, but I watched you.
Yeah. And only once happened, Jason. Only one happened, and I have no idea. I was during the World Cup, the Rio World Cup 2016, I believe. Yeah, 2016.
I remember.
I spent the World Cup in LA, okay, because the guys who in that time who host the Sports Nation, but the Spanish version,
sure,
and a lot of shows that made in LA, they traveled to the World Cup. So the company moved me to LA to be the host of those shows. So I spent the World Cup there, okay?
Yep.
Also, during that time, I received an email from my bosses. Hey, we have a request from ESPN Domestic. You have to do an interview to Yasiel Puig.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in that time, Yasiel Puig go to the All-Star game. Okay?
Yes. So he was with the Dodgers at the time.
Yeah, at the Dodgers, yes. But the interview has to be in Spanish, okay? So don't worry, don't translate anything. Just do the interview in Spanish, okay? Okay? Here are the questions, blah, 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 blah. Nobody understand the interview. The production guys, the staff, nobody interview. So one of the producers asked me, so how is the interview, Pablo? Oh, yeah, it was fun. Oh, yeah, I saw that Yasiel Puig was very friendly with you. And yeah, we were talking about family, about Cuba. But no. But what happened about the interview? No, sorry. We have talking about family, Cuba before the interview. During the interview, we follow all the questions that you asked me. Oh, okay, thank you. But the funny thing is that the next week, when I come back from the World Cup in LA, I attend to the church, and like 3 or 5 guys ask me, "Hey, I saw you in a sports center." Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. With the interview with Yasiel Puig. So in that time, I see the impact that ESPN domestic, ESPN English has in whole the country.
Yeah, a lot of people watch, that's for sure. I think you realize that when you travel around the country and you go to a bar or a restaurant or even your hotel room and ESPN is right there, you realize a lot of people watch it. That is for sure, Pablo. This has been a great conversation. I want to ask one last question to you, and it's a faith question. It's a question that we ask a lot of our guests here on this show.
Okay.
And sometimes it's an easy answer. Sometimes it's a difficult answer. But we all get taught lessons. God teaches us new things every day. What is he teaching and showing you right now in the season of life that you're in, where you are as a dad, as a husband, as a broadcaster too? What is God teaching you right now?
I will try to pronounce it right. Humility.
Humility, yeah.
Humility, definitely, because this is not an easy job. Sometimes you are in, sometimes you're out. But it's not an easy job to deal with your own, because you are the center of the show. You are on camera. A lot of people ask you. A lot of people follow you. Sure. A lot of people. So you are the famous, So one of the things that I every time that I ask God is to be wisdom to deal with all other things that can be put me apart of the weight of God. I don't know how to explain in English this verse, but is that you have to die to yourself every day to follow Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the most important things. Hey, I know that I don't want to say it, but I know that I am a famous person in Mexico.
Sure.
That a lot of people follow me because they like my job, the way that I explain in Spanish a lot of things around the football or around basketball. But I don't try to stay, in that part of my life, say, okay, if I can do this in the best way that I do is because I have the grace of God, So all the honor, all the glory is for God, is not for me. Okay. So thank you for all the comments. Thank you. But one of the posts that I try to post every time that I do a great cover like a Super Bowl is the first is thank God. Thank God for this opportunity. It's not thank to my wife, not thank to my family. It's thank you, God, to put me in this position, to give me those skills to do my job. And then obviously my family, my wife, my kids. But one of the things that I try to put first is God. God is in first person. So I'm not the Pablo Viruega, the NFL analyst. No, I'm a regular guy. I'm a regular person.
Sure.
And I try to deal with humanity the glory is not for me. The glory is for God. The glory is for God. Because it's the way that I try to explain to my kids, that I try to live every day, and the Bible said, hey, die to your person, or I don't know how to say it in a couple of minutes ago.
Die to yourself.
God is die to you, exactly, and God is first. God is first.
Yeah. That's really well said. Pablo, I've had such a great time here on our conversation. Thanks so much for joining us. And we'll have to meet up in person. Maybe we'll get some Starbucks where nobody knows you, right? And hang out in Connecticut here. And we'll definitely do this in person once this weather gets a little warmer. But thanks for joining us, my friend. So good to meet you. And thanks for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jason, for having me. I hope that my English, my pronunciation, my Mexican accent, every was clear. I did my best.
You did great.
And it's one of the parts that I have to improve my English. And I have 3 teachers at home, 3 kids. So, hey, that's not a way to pronounce that word. Okay, that's fine. Thanks for having me, Jason. Thank you.
And many thanks to Pablo Viruega, who joins us here on Sports Spectrum. What a great guy. What a great conversation that was. I thought his English was great, didn't you? I thought he clearly understand him. And I thought he had a great story. Growing up, his father was a youth pastor in Mexico and came to faith at a young age and continues to give God the glory throughout all of his success that he's had now, both at ESPN with the NFL and with the NBA, and certainly being able to call Super Bowl 55 for ESPN Deportes, the last couple Super Bowls. It's a pretty big honor. And Pablo is a gracious guest and willing to spend some time, both before and after we recorded as well, talking to him. And hopefully we'll be able to connect and get in touch with each other pretty soon here, especially in person. He lives right down the road. So it's going to be great to connect with him and get to know him a little bit more deeper than just a podcast taping. But we appreciate Pablo for joining us. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter. He's there. His last name is spelled Viruega, Pablo, Pablo. He tweets in Spanish, but he speaks English, as you know, so you can reach out to him and let him know that you heard his story here on Sports Spectrum. A really great story from Pablo Viruega. We appreciate Pablo. We appreciate our sponsors and partners today as well, talking about Water Mission, fighting the global water crisis. Make sure you check out watermission.org. And then Compassion International, Fill the Stadium, 70,000 kids in crisis. You can learn more by going to fillthestadium.com. You can donate and help release a child and their family from poverty. Make sure you check out our website as well, sportspectrum.com. Make sure you tune in next time here on Sports Spectrum. We love that we've been able to bring to you guys these kind of interviews, and we welcome your feedback. As I mentioned at the top of the show, you can email me, jason@sportspectrum.com. for any guest ideas or show topics or stories that we should be covering. And one last favor here, whatever app you're listening to this podcast on, click subscribe so that you never miss an episode of Sports Spectrum's podcast. And then tell someone. So much of the 2 million plus downloads that we have come from people like you telling someone else to tune in and check out our show. It means a lot. We want to keep the ministry going. And really, word of mouth is the best way. Of course, financial, commitments and donating and all that is great, but word of mouth helps us get the word out and to more people to hear the stories of sports and Jesus Christ at the center. So thank you so much again. We love you guys. We'll see you next time right here on Sports Spectrum. Have a great rest of your day.